Vancouver, as climate change threatens other winemaking regions in the world. A new 2-year study aims to pinpoint the perfect time to harvest grapes on the West Coast. And these findings may transform the emerging coastal industry, according to lead researcher and University of Victoria ecologist John Volpe. Close-up of Pinot Gris grapevines, representing roughly 11% of total annual production of BC. Wine grapes, with an instrument that records temperature and humidity levels hourly 24/7 for the University of Victoria study, John Volpe submitted. The novelty of our approach stems from the use of a specific type of molecular analysis, Volpe said, who is also a certified sommelier. We expect to gain insights on how to make great wine at a resolution never before available, and it will help growers harvest with confidence. That's why the study plans to identify markers of the best time to harvest by combining spectrometry technology with changing the conditions for the grapes at 3 British Columbian vineyards to test for changes in flavor chemistry. As wildfires burn across the province of BC, prompting heightened discussions about the long-term effects of climate change, winemakers are left mitigating changing weather conditions and its effect on the grapes. Article continued below. As climate continues to change and ripening patterns change, particularly here on the coast where at one time we were on the edge of getting grapes to ripen, Volpe explained, we are now seeing a significant change where ripening is not a problem. Even heat-loving varieties of grapes are becoming more common in BC, he added. That raised the concern for winemakers about finding the perfect time to harvest. Grapes have 2 kinds of ripeness, sugar and physiological. While the first is easy to distinguish by taste, growers cannot determine what kind of wine it will make, Volpe said. The latter refers to the hundreds of flavor compounds locked up in the grape, and not released until after fermentation, which are at peak diversity and density, he added. Currently, vineyards use a best guess approach by testing for sugar ripeness. The challenge, then, is to ask, when do you harvest, Volpe explained. Are there changes that can be made to allow winemakers better insight on when to pick grapes? Physiological ripeness has a brief peak, but then it declines. Yet, it's the best measure for the tastiest wine, Volpe added. Researchers will track specific chemicals and their concentrations while moving through the stages of physiological ripeness. Volpe said the approach involves minimal intervention on the vine, which will allow the wine to more closely reflect the ecosystem where the grapes were grown. Article continued below. It matters entirely what's in the vineyard if we want to allow the best expression of the land, the placiness or terroir, in the wine, he added. Read more. Your 2018 glass of red wine may taste like the wildfires now burning in BC. Beer for NDP voters and wine for Liberals. New poll uncovers drinkers' palate along party lines. More Canadian drinkers opt for grabbing grapes and bumping barley, reporting Pinot Gris, the single most popular varietal for BC wine. The fieldwork will be conducted at Blue Grouse Estate Winery, Unsworth Vineyards, and Enrico Winery, where researchers will test changes to the diversity of flavor compounds. For instance, the team will leaf strip, which involves removing the leaflets hanging above the fruit zone to increase the quality of grapes. But the technique is largely untested and controversial, Volpe noted. In addition, the team will use kaolin, a clay mineral, to boost quality by reducing the internal temperature of the grape, getting it to a plump, ripe state. This technique has not been fully examined in North America, Volpe said. Grapes can get sunburned, and though this hasn't been historically a problem, it is now, Volpe noted. We are giving the grapes a spa treatment, he chuckled. Clay covers the grape and is essentially a sunblock that turns white when it dries, Volpe said. The supply and quality of wines around the world is very much in flux, and both the international and domestic market are changing, pointing to traditional grape-growing countries such as Italy or France beginning to experiment with growing different grapes as weather conditions change. But that has some benefits for other markets, he added, who now have a potential to grow different varieties. The challenges facing this emerging industry is that it has yet to meet its potential, he said. Given the changing external environment, that potential continues to rise. Coastal winemakers can now grow varieties seen in warmer temperatures, such as sparkling wine, Volpe added. Initial data is being collected this summer by Andrew Watts, as part of a Master's in Environmental Studies degree. Wine Islands Growers Association President Lamont Brooke said it's an exciting opportunity to bring scientific rigor to measuring ripeness and to learn how they can vary with viticulture practices. This important new knowledge will allow our winery businesses to continue to produce and improve the crisp aromatic wines so characteristic of our growing area, he said. The project was supported by WIGA through programs delivered by the Investment Agriculture Foundation of BC, which receives funding from the Government of BC and Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada programs. Preliminary findings are expected by spring, with the study wrapping by 2020, and across the province, Okanagan wine producers are facing serious challenges, with rising temperatures, grapevines shut down at 35°C, and taint from wildfire smoke. But the island can handle more heat, Volpe said. Grape varieties that weren't formerly an option are now. Melanie Green is a Vancouver-based reporter covering food culture and policy. Follow her on Twitter, @MDGmedia.